I guess, and also start the YouTube stream. Okay, we are live. And welcome. We meet here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on the repeater of the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club on 146.805 megahertz with a negative shift and a PL tone of 103.5 hertz. Let's pause for any emergency or priority traffic. Please come now. All right, nothing heard. Let's pause for a moment for old technology, which means I have to open to a new page in the notebook and get a pen that actually writes.
KC2 UVP, logging in.
Hold on there, Mike. I'll call for logins in a bit. Sorry. Anyway, all right, I got my pen. I still like pen and paper. Once again, you are listening to and or watching, if you're on YouTube, the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club Sunday Night Science and Technology Night with Neil, W2NDG, and Jim, K2BHM. If you want to watch or participate in the YouTube part of tonight, you can find us by searching for W2NDG Science and Technology in Google or in YouTube, W2NDG Science and Technology. So, as I mentioned, my co-host is Jim, K2BHM, and let me reach out and see if Jim is out there. Jim, are you there tonight?
I looked in the mirror and I'm here. So, okay, I must be.
Well, that should verify it. There are people who don't see themselves in the mirror, though, but that's a subject for another night. Anyway, well, welcome back, Jim. No particular subject tonight. I had a kind of a funny thing we could do, but I also wanted to see, depending on who checks in tonight, that we might actually revisit last week's topic as well. So, and since you weren't here last week, Jim, we did a very short net because I was very tired after the walkway on the Hudson weekend, and still had to get up and hit the city in the morning. But we talked about electric cars and a bit of a conundrum because those of us who don't own them really don't understand the logistics of charging as far as cost and compatibility. So it was an interesting discussion. Anyway, that was last week. Let me pause. This week, this is OMARC Science and Technology Net number 50. So I thought maybe let's talk about the number 50. Bring up something that it relates to or refers to or is important to you in your own life. It doesn't matter. Something technical, something science related, anything. Could be a date, could be a time, could be an amount, could be an address, could be anything. I don't know. If not, if you have something that's burning a hole in your brain that you want to bring up, bring that up too, and we'll discuss that. I think we'll go back to pre-planned subjects sometime in the near future, but this is just a really busy period of time for me. So anyway, let me throw it over to Jim and see if he has anything in particular he wants to add to this, and then we'll take check-ins. Good evening, Jim. Once again, great to have you back.
Thanks, Neil. KC2BHM here. A couple of interesting topics. Electric cars and all the preparations and forethought that was put into this before they sprung it on us. Yeah, right. Okay. And the other topic was very interesting too. 50. Yeah, that was, oh, geez, almost 17 years ago. Oh, my God. Warranty expired and it's going downhill. Never mind. Yeah, okay. Whatever.
No, that's fine. That's one of my brother's favorite expressions, by the way. The warranty has expired. Now we've all been feeling a little of that, right? Anyway, all right. Well, that's cool. We can see who else is out there. And once again, I apologize for the late start, but I was kind of wrestling with an eBay purchase, and I won it. And I'm not going to reveal what it is until I get it, because it was a little shocking even for me. So, but yes, it is ham radio related. Anyway, if you'd like to check into the OMARC Sunday Night Science and Technology Net, you can give me your call sign, your first name, and your location. Please come now.
I'll be the first. This is KB5BZ mode in the big town of Marbletown. This is KD2MNR, Mike Poughkeepsie. Bed control. Here is KB2 GGF Matt in Kerhonkson. This is KD2 TVS Loop. This is WA2 RKN Jerry Hyde Park.
All right, I've got 5 so far. Mike, UVP in Tivoli, you gave me an early check-in. Are you checking in?
DQ UVP 73 listening.
That's fine, Mike. But feel free to throw your call sign in if you want to comment on something. All are welcome, as always. Okay, so we have Mose, KB5BV, Mike, KD2MNR, Matt, KB2GGF, Lou, KD2TVS, Jerry, WA2RKN, and Mike, KC2UVP, just listening, and of course, Jim, K2BHM. So let me go over this stuff again. First, let me ask permission for something first, and that's WA2RKN. Jerry, do you mind, and it's no problem if you don't feel like being our expert here, but do you mind if we pick your brain a bit about electric cars?
Well, you can pick, but I'm no expert.
But I believe you know the logistics probably that we're looking for as far as some compatibility and cost factors.
I don't really know as far as the cost goes, other than to say what I've read is it's a lot cheaper than paying for gas.
All right. Why did I think you had one?
Got one of each. I've got an ICE and I've got an electric.
Okay. I'll have some specific questions when I get to you in the roundup here. So, yeah, we were talking about this last week, and there's some things that those of us who don't have electric cars at all didn't understand. And it was kind of confusing. So you can set us straight on a couple of things, I'm sure. All right. God, what's new here? Right before the net, I was testing out a pile of radios that came in. One of these, the first one I pulled out of the box, works fine. So one of these is definitely up for my friend Joe there in Kingston, who's probably listening. So this would be a good radio to set him up with. Because he has trouble operating from inside of his place, and we don't want to have him get sick standing out in the middle of a parking lot this winter trying to participate in a day. So we need to get him an indoor rig. Anyway, I also just pulled the trigger on a QRP rig. I wanted to get something a little more professional for serious portable operation, in addition to all of the little projects that I've been throwing together. But it's definitely something I've been thinking about, talking about, and I finally decided to grab one. So once it gets in, we'll talk about it more. But I'm probably going to be selling a number of things. That's all I can say. Anyway, Jim, K2BHM, let me throw it to you first for anything on either of our possible topics tonight, or anything that's, like I said, been burning a hole in your brain.
Oh my God. Burning a hole in my brain. My brain is fried. We were down to Long Island for over a week for a wedding, and a lot of things happened down there, and a lot of things are pertinent to current events. I came home to my long wire antenna being on the ground. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Now, you heard about the antenna. That's a shame. I don't know if you had pulleys like I had Dave set up with mine so that you can hoist it again easily, but it sounds like you might need a visit from the potato gun ferry.
I'm back up and running. I managed to invent things and so forth. The ropes actually failed, even though they were about a year old, and so forth. And I managed to get through some manipulations and stuff like that, and some old gutters I pulled off the house using as an extension pole and so forth. Got the contact point up higher on one of the trees, and got it reestablished and so forth. And today I was hearing far side of Connecticut like it was next door, Pennsylvania like it was next door, the Dakotas, Texas, and so forth. And it was a little scratchy, but still perfectly readable. Rome, Italy.
Yeah, I've often said, I've said this before about your setup there and your situation. The elevation, the fact that you're down there by the water, with higher lands around you, should not really hinder HF with the right antenna. And really a simple wire antenna should be fine for you, but we need to find out where your noise floor is coming from. And if we can drop that down a little bit, then it'd probably all work a little better. Conditions have been wonderful. I'm sure Matt will rave on that when we get around to him. But anyway, all right. Cool stuff. As far as everything else, I heard about the fire. I was wondering what town. We have the oldest boy is a lieutenant in the Dix Hills Fire Department.
Yeah, this was Massapequa, but the fireman lives now in Islip.
W2NDG on the Overlook Mountain Sunday night Science and Technology Net. All right, yeah. Dave is lives very close to the fire department, the one right off of the Northern State, that branch of the Dix Hills group there, and does a lot of work for the fire department because he's one of the few paid employees of the Dix Hills department. So, all neat stuff, and like I said, glad you're back, and hope you're feeling well. And I'm gonna move it on to Mose KB5BV. Well, you've heard the possible topics, Mose. If the number 50 means anything to you, or you want to continue to talk about electric cars, or you have something else you want to bring up tonight, go ahead. Mose, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. Good evening, everyone. Well, I so many times forget all about this net on Sunday night, but for some reason tonight my brain kicked in gear and I remembered it. So I'm glad I did. It's good to hear everybody on here. And let's see. I guess the first item is the number 50. What does it mean? Well, it's been 22 years since I was the age 50. That seems like an eternity ago in a way. But also another significance of that number is that I have been married over 50 years now, and working on the second 50, and it's been great. So, and I guess we talk about antennas and ham radio, and the number 52 comes into mind because that's what the SWR is on most antennas. So let me reset again. Now, I don't know much about electric cars. I could barely afford to drive a gasoline car, especially these days. But I guess there'd be a good ideal. I got a feeling, though, if we all got electric cars and everybody gets home from work in the afternoon and about 6 o'clock, they all plug them into the charger, what's going to happen to the grid? I think there's got to be a whole lot of things explained before we get away from fossil fuels. I better quit while I'm ahead. So Neil, back to you. This is KB5VZ.
Well, thanks, Mose, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'll comment on a couple things you mentioned. Now, first of all, a number of years ago, not long after I first started working at Sloan Kettering, I had the pleasure of meeting a man named Ray Kurzweil, and he's a futurist. He's owned a number of companies. He's definitely a technology guy. But if you attend one of his talks, he will definitely have you believing that you will celebrate that second 50th anniversary or your 100th anniversary and beyond. He honestly thinks that before the end of his life that he'll be able to transfer his consciousness into a computer and do all sorts of things to keep his body also functioning well past its useful life. Really interesting guy. And a lot of that sounds like science fiction, but not after you sit and listen to him talk. He's a really interesting guy, but I recommend that. The grid. Yeah, we've had this topic on here before. And besides just the electric car part of it, one of the things that has a lot of us concerned is, like in a city like New York, where they're talking about all new buildings after a certain date are going to have non-fossil fuel heat. Well, the only real option for us here is, at the moment, electricity. And wow, I don't know. We don't have to descend into that pit again. But I just, that's my whole thing. We're not ready. We're not ready. So many areas of the country when most of our electricity is still coming from fossil fuels. It's kind of silly to send people in that direction. So anyway, let me drop. This is W2NDG on the OMARC Sunday Night Science and Technology Net. Brings us to Mike, KD2MNR. Oh, Mike, I'll talk to you about my purchase tomorrow. What have I done?
I don't know. What have you done? Anyway, I don't know. Electric cars sound. I would never own one just because of the range of them is not enough, and I don't think you could pull a camper with it.
Does the larger Tesla Sport Ute, what is that, the Model X? Does it have a tow rating? I'll throw that question out to everybody. Anybody knows that answer, you can come back.
California is mandating electric tractor trailers.
Well, that's good, since so many of them are available.
No direct knowledge, but I will relate a story that not sure what model Tesla actually pulled a large, like a Ford 250 size, out of a Tesla charging stall so that he could use it.
Go ahead, Jim. I'll stop laughing at some point.
I have pictures of my stock Tundra pulling the space shuttle. It's 1.5 million pounds.
I've told you guys I used to own a good size camper, and I used to move it around the back of the Kingston yard and back driveway with my little 4-cylinder, almost dead to the world Mitsubishi truck, 2-wheel drive. But yeah, no, it's interesting stuff. But when executed properly, they definitely have the torque and the power. I don't know what the specs are for the Ford and GM electric pickups, but I mean, I don't think either of those companies would put something out that couldn't tow something. Well, anyway, I'm not throwing that to anyone in particular. I'll throw it back to Mike, KD2MNR, and then we'll go on.
Yeah, I don't know. I like my truck, so I will be keeping my truck. I don't know. I just don't like the range of them, and I mean, like I would imagine the tractor trailers have some range on them. If not, then it's a really stupid idea. But you have to be able to. California is really cracking down on everything, and why is it more important in California than it is anywhere else? I get it, the population and all that, but it's the same everywhere. There's people everywhere.
Well, I can't argue with that. But California, one of the reasons why they were always the first on a lot of the pollution and emissions regulations was because of the sheer amount of pollution and smog they had in the LA and San Francisco, Oakland area. They were one of the worst in the country. Not that New York was wonderful at any given time, but the cities are a lot cleaner air-wise than they were 40 years ago, definitely. So, and it's the tractor trailer, they're all tandems, Mike. The first trailer is the battery. KB2 GGF, Matt, you're up next.
KB2 GGF. Well, given enough gears, why, you could do a tractor trailer. Maybe a constantly variable transmission system even. But electric motors have pretty good force. Yeah, the range is an issue. That they're going to have to figure out. But I think it could be done. There's a company talking about short-haul airplanes, electric airplanes that will do, 100, 150-mile runs. So that's kind of interesting, too. But after all, it's just an engine. It's a motor, a different kind of propulsion. Propulsion is propulsion. If you get the power-to-weight ratio good and if it can run long enough on supplied energy, you're good to go. So I think they can do it. I mean, no, they're not in place to do it now. And there's going to be some interesting dancing going on to get things to work. But I think it'll happen eventually. I've always wanted an electric car, simply from the maintenance standpoint. A lot less to wear out and fewer parts. So yeah, I'm kind of interested in them. Had something else I wanted to mention, but it flew the coop, so maybe it'll be back by the time I get back on. So back to net, KB2, GGF.
All right, Matt. Yeah, the airplane's interesting. I just don't know if we're ready for that. Whoops, forgot to charge it. CVTs. Don't get me started on CVTs. I'm not a huge fan of them. I know they use them for economy purposes. And a lot of the smaller cars, and especially the sport utes now, are coming with them. I just not a fan. I don't know. I guess my biggest problem with them is that early on when they were doing them, people didn't like the way they felt because it is just a straight operating CVT, operating the way that it should, doesn't feel normal to somebody who's used to a regular transmission. Because it's changing ratios sometimes instead of throttle, and it's a weird feeling, weird sound, So what a lot of the car companies have done is they've programmed the transmission control computer into putting in shift points to make it feel like it's working like a regular transmission. That's just silly, and that's what bothers me. My daughter had a Honda with that, and it went through a transmission, I think, somewhere in the 30 to 40,000 mile range. They put a new transmission in it because it went. And she says ever since they replaced it, it's been reliable, but feels sluggish. And she just doesn't like the way it responds. I don't know. Once again, I mean, my choice of transmission is still standard or manual, but I'm starting to, appreciate modern automatics a little better. But haven't driven a CVT I've liked yet. So that's where I am with those. Lou, KD2 TVS, you're up next. How you doing?
Thank you, Neil. KD2 TVS here. Just listening to the mix of communication here on the vehicles. I was actually looking up it says the Tesla Model X 2016, I guess, version. Some reason why they mentioned that particular year has a 5,000-pound tow capacity. Then it says it has a little footnote that says if you have 22-inch wheels, you're limited to 3,500 pounds. So I don't know if maybe they got some heavy rims or something on the 22-inch wheels, I would imagine. So that's why they limit it down. And the Ford F-150 Lightning has a tow capacity of actually 10,000 pounds. If you put it in the tow mode, which I guess, from what I understand there, it says that when you switch the drive mode into tow, it gives you a little bit better pickup knowing that it's towing something. And it supposedly is more efficient at that mode too for towing. So it says payload limit, but it has a payload limit of 2,000 pounds, whatever that means, instead of tow capacity. Payload, carrying some extra stuff. I don't know. But anyway, let me just reset. So there's, I guess, a little bit of information on those electric cars. I don't know which Tesla Model X is, but I've seen the one that looks like a SUV. Thought it was one of the ugliest looking SUVs I ever saw. So unless they start unless you customize them, I'm sure somebody's going to want to customize them and make them a little bit more personal. But as Matt brought up, electric airplanes, yes, as far as I remember, hearing, I think United Airlines went into some kind of deal with a smaller, I can't remember the name of the aircraft company, but they were looking at buying or actually investing, and they did, in a company that was developing carrying, I think, 16 passengers. Maybe that was the max capacity. Twin engine, I guess. From what I saw, it was an artist rendition, so who knows what it's going to look like afterwards. But I remember something in the news that I saw a quick internet news clip on it, and that they had done a test hop. Not that particular company, but somebody, and it was here locally, somewhere at one of the local airports. That's where it supposedly ended up at, here in Jersey or in the tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, or Pennsylvania somewhere. Let me just reset again. So, I mean, it's interesting. They'll get into it, but I guess the main thing is the batteries and the recharge rate on them. Because, I mean, however long it takes, it's not like if it's going to get there doing its max range, then it's going to have to sit for a couple of hours or whatever to recharge those batteries. Unless they're going to have a spare airplane sitting there to continue on the leg or turn around and go the other way for the return trip. But I have a question for you, Neil. I remember it was actually back in April. Let me just reset eyes for a second. Quick question. Back in April, the second Tuesday night, I guess, of the week, Steve was doing, and he mentioned your name. I was looking at the video last night, and he mentioned a Coltrane DMR radio that he supposedly, when he went to his whatever industry get together, was playing around with a hotspot, something. So I just wanted to know if you had he said that if we had questions to contact you. So I just wanted to know what model number. I guess Cotre, from what I see online, is spelled Cotre. And I'm just wondering whether that was actually a decent radio. You seem to think that, or if you had your choice between that radio that he was talking about and a Radiotti GD75 with the open, I forget what the name of his firmware switch. Which one would you prefer? And so that's just a quick question. And you guys were talking about weddings, and you were talking about your son being out on Long Island. And Dick Sales, I haven't been out there probably since the late 70s. And I was just wondering if you guys knew whether the Huntington House still existed out that way. So back to you, Neil. KD2 TVS.
W2NDG on the OMARC Sunday Night Science and Technology Net. Oh, a couple of things to comment on here. The Cotre DMR radio. Are you a car enthusiast?
Yeah, somewhat. I like the older cars, tinkering with them, going to, if I can see an old car show that, enthusiast. Yeah, I've worked with a buddy of mine that has a shop out in Pennsylvania, and with my brother-in-law has a shop in the Bronx. So, I did my share working on my cars. But yeah, I enjoy some of the old cars and the old systems better. And as we say, we're rigging something up to better than it was before originally, or hacking. I've done my share of that. So back to you, Neil. KD2 TVS.
I was just asking because I wanted to draw an analogy for you with that radio. I don't know if you remember, maybe about a decade ago, Indian automotive manufacturer that actually owns some of the bigger marques now. I think they own both Jaguar and Land Rover. But Tata was talking about a car they were releasing for emerging countries and markets and people who needed basic wheels, called the Nano. almost almost like a cardboard car with a wind-up engine. I mean, just very, very basic. Do you remember that?
I could have sworn I remember seeing it years ago. Yeah, back in the news somewhere. I guess it must have been similar to cardboard would have been worse than a Yugo, but I guess on that league. Back to you, KD22. Yes.
That is a valid phrase. Worse than a Yugo. That's the co-tray. Functional, basic transportation. Take a big board and a couple of 2x4s and some wheels and a Briggs and Stratton. That's your co-tray. It works. It sounds fine. It has a limited number of channels. It has no display. The programming software is simple because it has to be. It only runs in Windows. So if you're an anti-Windows guy, you're not going to get it programmed any other way. But it works. And has a funny voice that tells you what channel you're on and when your battery is dying. It works. It is not a Radiotti GD77 out of the box on either radio. And there are very few of them that can really stand up to the GD77 with the open firmware. It turns it into a really nice radio when you do that. But for the, I think, less than $15 that I paid for it, it was just a remarkable thing that actually works. That's what I'll say about it. I have one. Steve has one. Another Steven, who might even be listening tonight, a friend of mine from Long Island, who some of you may have heard on the repeater a couple of times in the last couple of days. He's the one who actually turned me on to it. He has one. And I think Matt might have one, but Matt has the issue of not having anything to program it with. So anyway, so that's the co-tray. The Huntington House. Oh, it just sat there and crumbled and rotted, and it was very depressing. Know it well because in my 10-year exile on Long Island from the area, when Jill and I were, living down there, we watched it crumble, and the local kids would, try to go in there and explore and do whatever, as kids do. They knocked it down, they cleared the land, and they were supposed to build a Lowe's. And Lowe's ran out of money. They weren't doing so great at the time. And now it's a Target. So Lowe's cleared the property for development. Target built a store. So that's what's there instead of the Huntington House now. Kind of depressing, but it looks better than it did when I first saw it. Back to you, and then we'll move on.
Okay, first, I guess the Radiotti, I'm glad that I have a couple of those. I bought them for, I guess they were around $80, about maybe 2 years and a year ago. I bought one first, and then I bought another one afterwards. Kind of liked them. Played around with it a little while with the hotspots. And I know Dave mentions a couple of the EMR rooms, I guess, or whatever they call them. And for the Mid-Hudson Valley, there's another one, I guess, that he mentioned. I got the numbers. Eventually, I'll get on one of them and see what they're talking about on there. But let's see, Huntington House. Yeah, I remember going out there in the late 70s. It's a shame that happened to it, but I guess probably not. Kind of like we all call it, a lot of Jewish people that I know call it the Jewish Alps up there, the Monticello area. Those places were hopping years ago with all the big entertainment out there. And I know friends of mine that were Jewish, and they said they spent a lot of summers up there with their parents. They would always go up there in the summer. Now they all went out of business. I had a travel trailer up there. Speaking of that, we were talking about towing travel trailers. And for about 5 or 6 years in a town called Parksville. And it was fun going up there. But Huntington House, a buddy of mine got married there. His wife came from a well-to-do family. He had the father owned a printing business, Italian, and I got a kick of going to that wedding because he was Italian. name a party, and it was the fanciest wedding reception I had ever been to. I mean, the ice sculptures, the Viennese bar, the meal, the entertainment. It was like unbelievable. But it was funny. There was a bunch of us from work there. We worked at TWA at the time, and we were all sitting around. My wife was there. Most of the guys. I think I was the only one married at the time. I got married when I was about 21, and everybody else I had, I guess, their girlfriends there, and we all sat together, and we're just looking at. Let me just reset quick. We're just looking at all the corners, and seeing all the guys in the dark suits with the shades, just standing in the corners, and we go like, yeah, we can tell. Marianne, I forget what her maiden name was, but it was almost like going to the Godfather wedding, I guess. Except it was all inside the reception at the time, and seeing how fancy it was. It was something else. Nice place, though. I remember it was so big, that the Huntington House, years ago. But anyways, I'll let it continue on, and back to you, Neil. KD2 TVS.
Great, Lou. Well, thanks for all that. Yeah, I'm not from down there, and I spent an interesting 10 years of my life down there. But if I hadn't done all of this, I wouldn't have the life I have right now, and I like my life right now. So definitely like my life at the moment. Jerry, WA2RKN, owner of The Pit. Let me throw it over to you for any comments, questions, or things surrounding our topics up to this point, and then I'll ask you a couple of specific questions that we were kind of left wanting for.
Yeah, still kind of wondering about the pit. Best idea I've had so far is throwing a water storage tank in there for solar hot water kind of deal. Other than that, Matt had suggested snakes. Have a snake pit, but I don't know. We'll put that one on the side. Mike, yeah, you were expressing some range anxiety about electric cars, and I can relate to that. They do come with different size battery packs, different models, different battery pack sizes, in a particular model. I've got a Model 3, which is their cheap one, and I opted for the long-range battery, and allegedly that's 311 miles. I did some quick calculations, rough calculations. It cost me approximately 8 cents a mile to charge the car. So equivalently to 25-mile range would cost me about $2 in electricity, roughly. What else? Can't think of anything else at this point. There's probably other things, but that's all I can think of right now. WA2RKN, back to that.
All right. Well, some interesting stuff with what we come up to so far. The logistics issues we had, Jerry, were so this is our question. You're driving point A to point B. You need to charge. You get off of the highway and you roll into a Tesla supercharger station. Are you paying to charge your car?
Depends. Early on, they offered free supercharging for the life of the vehicle. They have kind of phased that out, except they will offer that as a benefit. They have a lottery system, if you will. If you are responsible for getting someone to buy a car, you have a personal number you can give them, and it will allow the purchaser to get a discount on the car. You then go into a lottery every month, that you want somebody to buy a car, and they'll pick somebody, and you you win a prize. It's like 1,000 free miles on the supercharger, or a free car, or whatever. They're changing it up what the prize is.
Okay. Next question. Out on the road, can you use any other chargers, and which ones?
I don't know. I've never used a supercharger, but if you're on a trip and you need to charge, cars got GPS and maps and all that kind of stuff, and it will plot a route for you to go to the nearest supercharger if you need it. Or if you're doing route planning for a trip, it will take into account where you'll need to charge, and it'll consider that as well.
Okay. So, yeah, this is what we were curious about, because we've heard that not everything is compatible with everything. And have you seen other electric cars had a Tesla supercharger ever? Well, you said you don't use them though, but that was the other thing, the reverse of what we're asking. Can you take a Chevy Bolt and charge it at a supercharger, or does it have to be one of the more generic ones?
I can't really answer that. I mean, Tesla built out their own charging network, which was obviously a selling point for buying one of their cars. Hey, we got all this network of chargers every place. I don't see them giving up that advantage in the marketplace, although they may have changed their position. Let's face it, you would be holding the competition to allow, like a Ford or a Prius to charge on your network. Doing that, don't know. I know there are different adapters that are available, so that you may be able to use somebody else's charger system. Each car comes with its own small portable charger, so that if you get stuck someplace with a low battery, you can plug into like a 120 volt outlet, or a 240 volt outlet. You've got pigtails on the end that will plug into an outlet, so you can get a like a 120 plug or a 240 plug, 30 amp, whatever. So you're kind of flexible there.
Okay. I mean, so that's what we were talking about last week. I haven't actually gotten online and researched any of this, and I certainly could, but sometimes for subjects we bring up on here, I prefer the crowdsourcing method first. But thank you for all of that. And I think maybe we'll have a little contest that everybody can suggest what to do with your pit. I was thinking largest Jello mold in Dutchess County.
Or maybe Corbomite. I don't know. Coal hopper? Burn coal? I don't know. It seems like it would be such a waste to just fill it in and not use it for something. One more comment about the superchargers. You do not have to have a credit card with you when you charge. I've spoken with my veterinarian who also has one and has gone on trips and used the superchargers. He says all you have to do is just plug in and it'll charge, and you get your bill through your account with Tesla. So I have to theorize that they interrogate the VIN when you're charging, and then just charge it to your account. I do know that some of the charger stations, like a destination charger, such as maybe at a hotel or someplace like that, they can charge their own rate for the electric. So you may see variable rates depending on where you're charging. WA2R can back to that.
All right. So we're dealing with an early industry that hasn't really standardized yet. I think that's a lot of what we're looking at when we answer these questions. Corbomite, huh? I think a certain Mr. Baylock may have something to say about that. All right. Jerry, thank you for information so far. I've had one mention in the chat so far, and I think this is directed at Lou. Matt says, "Get the radiodity." I concur. I mean, most mornings when people hear me on the 835 net, that's what I'm talking into. One of those GD77s running the aftermarket firmware. It just turns it into an all-around great radio. And one of my favorite features that's in that firmware, which I've talked about before, is the high-speed scanning. And it also gives you, I think, unlimited channels per zone. So what you can do is you can set up a zone for scanning, local, municipal and fire and safety stuff. And that's I have a whole bunch of local, fire and police and otherwise, channels programmed into mine. And when I hit scan for just that particular zone, it's a high speed scanner, like a good, Bearcat or something like. It makes it useful. Most of these HTs do not scan quickly, so that was a neat little bonus. Anyway, all right, we have reached the end of our rotation. Is there anybody else who would like to check in tonight? Please come now.
This is KD2 CCT, Joe from Kingston. Can you hear me?
Yes, Joe, loud and clear. Good signal tonight. Your Roger beep is back. It was back the other day when I was talking to you as well. But it's not a problem. It's not that annoying.
Very good. Very good. This is KD2 CCT.
All right, we have Joe from Kingston. Is there anybody else out there who would like to slip in at the end of this round? All right. Before I throw it to Joe, I'll just mention, I do fully expect that I'm going to own an electric car someday. I know it'll happen. We seem to be heading in that direction. And I am not opposed to people who do it now. I just think that we're not ready for the entire public to do it. I don't think we have we're not ready. That's all. I think our electricity is still coming from the wrong place, and we haven't standardized enough to make it, work the way, gas stations work. And that's what we need. I think there's going to be a few more shifts in this technology before we get to that point. But as far as me, it'll happen. I'm sure it will. It's going to get to that point. So, Joe, KD2 CCT, any comments or questions up to this point?
Yeah, well, I don't think I've got too many comments. I don't know too much about this particular subject, but I can say that I've got a brass band playing on the hill behind me, so it's a little distracting. Yeah, well, I don't know. I was thinking about the pit and what could be done with the pit. I don't know. I can't really say it on the net. It's sort of something out of like Vietnam or perhaps. As far as the electric stuff goes with the cars, I think we have a little ways to go with that before we get all the bugs worked out. So I don't have too much more input with that. No pun intended. Case 2, CCT.
All right, thanks, Joe. And that may be the first time, at least on this repeater, and possibly a lot of repeaters in general, that somebody has listed a brass band as the interference that we're having issues with. But yeah, Kingston happenings, I guess. Cool stuff. Jim, K2BHM, I'm throwing it back up to the top to you for comments on everything you've heard. Took a while to get back here. Sorry.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Yeah, I had a nice long talk with Joe. Oh God, I can't remember his call sign, but anyhow, he's one of the guys here, electrical engineer, retired from IBM, and we were going over the statistics. Yeah, say that 3 times fast. And laughing our butts off. It doesn't make sense. Basically, when I was at SUNY, before I retired when it got hot out, they would send us home because they would have to turn off the AC because it was too much energy for the grid. And when you went home and cranked up your own AC, you were subject to random brownouts and blackouts because the grid couldn't sustain it. They haven't really upgraded the grid since. So imagine when everybody comes home now and cranks up their AC and plugs in their car. Yeah, ouch. Let me drop a second and give you some numbers. Okay, I didn't worry about Chevy and Nissan and all that kind of stuff. I went for Tesla because they're the hot spot. Okay, fine. You get home and you plug in your Tesla, 120 volts, 15 amps. Figure on charging it for 16, 18, 20 hours. Okay. Okay, let's put in a special outlet now. Put in a 220 outlet. 220 at 50 amps. Now we're talking about 4 to 6 hours. Ouch. Okay, go to one of those hotspots at one of the coffee shops or whatever. Now you're down to 1 to 2 hours of charge. They're charging at 460 volts. Okay, so typically those places have 2, 3, 4 chargers. So if somebody's ahead of you, which probably would be most likely, you can sit there for a couple hours before you get a chance to plug in your charger, assuming that the guy was nice enough to unplug and move out of the spot when he was done. I see a lot of EV charging stations that non-EV vehicles are plugged there. Yeah, just parked at. Sorry. I'm kind of emotional about this. They don't give a crap. There's a spot, I'm going to take it, and you got an EV, to heck with you. I'm here first. So there's a lot of other issues here that we have to deal with, and I'm not convinced we're there yet. Look at how many people text while driving and rear-end people and stuff like that. We're not there. People don't care. There's no consideration. There's no intelligence, whatever. Anyhow, the math isn't there, and basically everybody thinks that the electricity comes out of the wires. And where's it come from to put it into the wires? I don't know. I don't care. It's got to come from fossil fuels or a few hydroelectric and a few nuclear, but
Time out. Hey, Jim, you timed out. We heard up to it's got to come from hydroelectric or a few, and then we lost it there.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's got to come from hydroelectric or nuclear or whatever, and so we're just shifting the blame off to someplace else and thinking we're doing a good thing when all we're doing is just laughing at our own fallacies.
I'll agree that we're not ready, but I'll also agree that it's thinking in the correct direction. But once again, we're not ready. There are definitely parts of the country that get a lot more energy from non-fossil sources, but we don't have a giant hydro project here other than Niagara. They're small ones, but yeah. God, there was supposed to be one on the Delaware River. Look up the history of the Delaware Water Gap area someday and what happened there. was definitely an engineering failure in our history. But yeah, all of this. As far as home charging, I don't worry as much about how long home charging takes because I think most people understand that when they buy the cars. It's an overnight charge or, whatever, a day and a half. And God forbid you need to get somewhere in an emergency. You're probably not going far in an emergency. Unplug the thing and go. I think Jerry will probably agree with that, side of the facts. So it's that's the way I look at the home charging part of it. And yeah, I mean, we're all, a lot of us are willing to put in a pretty high powered outlet for our dryer and our range and other things. As long as you have the electrical system that can handle it, that's the other possibility. So anyway, but I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And yeah, once again, it comes back to those words. We're not ready. And even in this part of the state where a lot of our non-fossil fuel electricity is coming from nuclear, that's about to end. So yeah, what happens then? So it's a definitely interesting subject and one that I think we'll reserve for another night again, that part of it anyway. But I agree with you, Jim, and but I also agree with the forward thinking and the premise of it. It's just we have to have the infrastructure to support it, I think. So thank you for the commentary. Good stuff. And let's move on. And unless something else, because it took us an hour to get this far, we'll go around one more time. So KB5BV, Mose, you're up next.
Quick comment.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I step out my front door and look up and look at the power line. I've got a 4,800 volt line that's supplying the whole neighborhood, and it's like 10 gauge, and that's supplying 100 houses. How many Teslas could it take to melt a 10 gauge wire?
It's all stuff that has to be looked at. And that wire's right there, huh? You can get up there with one of those 3M squeeze taps and get a little more.
Yeah, actually, a tree took one down and set somebody's house on fire.
Oh yeah, been there, seen that a couple of times on Long Island when the storms hit. All right, yeah, no, I get it. Believe me, I get it. All right, Mose, you're up next. KB5BV.
Yeah, okay, me on the group. Well, I tell you what, it's an interesting subject, and one that I think about often. And you're right. There are a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of things to be decided. The thing that bothers me the most is that our legislators want to make us do this right away, whether we're going to be ready or not, whether the technology, the infrastructure, all that stuff is ready. They want it right away. And just because you pass a law, pass a bill, doesn't make it mean it's going to happen that way. So that's another part of it. So anyhow, very good stuff. Enjoying it. Everybody have a good day tomorrow and the day off, I hope. And I'll be out and listening. This is KB5BV.
Thanks, Mose. And yeah, I'm going to use a phrase here. I don't know if anyone else has ever coined it or not, but we're going to call it the politics of buzzwords. And it's on, it's everywhere. It's on definitely from both extremes and both sides of the aisle and right down the middle. The politics of buzzwords. And sometimes it's just a matter of, trying to show everybody that I'm for this. Yeah. Let's be for things that work. And once again, I'm not opposed to the technology. I'm not opposed to the premise of the direction it's leading us in, but we need to be ready. Mike, KD2MNR. Evening. Your take on everything for the last hour, I guess.
Well, we aren't ready for it. There's too many things that are unanswered. There are too many things. You use the word standardized. There is not much in the world that people build that are standardized. One thing that is standardized is trailer plugs. I have my pickup truck. Any 7-wire plug in the United States, I can tow that trailer and have lights, have brakes, and all that. That is standardized. Pin number 1 is always ground. Okay, whatever vehicle you're using, whatever trailer you're using, you can hook up any truck to any trailer and it works. That's standardized. Now you get in one of these electric cars. Now you pull up to this charging station, and will it charge off of this station? Because I don't have the right plug because my car doesn't fit this. They need to standardize things. I don't understand. It's just like DMR. Why is Brandmeister different than DMR Mark? And then you got TGIF and all the other ones that are different. It's all DMR. Just have the same numbers. And yes, we've been through that, Neil. Let me drop. But if you don't have the right plug, now I got to find somewhere else. And it's going to take a day and a half. Well, I don't have a day and a half. I need to go to work in the morning. So, on the other side of the coin is my truck. It's diesel. It's a 2003. The truck looks pretty good. It runs excellent. This might be the last vehicle I ever own. So my kids might be selling the truck, the camper, whatever, or using them, whatever they want to do, because I will not, and hang on, it's going to take a minute to get where I'm going with this, but the diesel prices are out of control, and it's all gouging. Like you said, Neil, all the guys in the New Paltz area, they meet up for breakfast and decide what price they're going to charge. Well, that's crap. That's gouging, and that's illegal. I don't know why they're allowed to do this. But now, if you buy a pickup truck, a tractor trailer, a 10-wheeler, a triaxle, newer than 2012, it takes DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. This was the big thing. This is going to clean up the diesel. So there won't be a problem with emissions with diesel. Let me drop again. I read an article the other day that urea is one of the ingredients in DEF. Mainly it comes from the Ukraine. Well, the Ukraine is going to stop giving it to us, selling it to us, whatever. But now, we're going to give them our oil that's sitting down in New York City. I'm not going into that. But, so basically, diesel exhaust fluid is going to come very hard to get. Flying J gas stations they have a railroad system, and I don't remember everything about the article, but basically this railroad system is the only railroad system that will supply Flying J. If Flying J tries to get it from somebody else, this railway system is just going to totally cut them off because they want the monopoly on it, let's say. But so like I said, I will never own a diesel vehicle newer than 2010, 11. And I will never own an electric car because there's no standardization. Nobody knows what they're doing. And, the general public, look at the general public in work zones. Let me drop. I am in work zones all day long. And, there's flagmen and there's a sign on the back of my truck. Commercial vehicle or construction vehicle, whatever it says, do not follow. Now I'm pulling up with a load of blacktop and I need to come up the lane that's open, and then there's a line of trucks there, and I get in front of the front truck, meaning I'll be the last one in the paver. You don't know how many people follow me into that other lane, and everybody starts screaming that, oh, you're not supposed to be over there, you're supposed to stay here, blah, blah, blah. But it's like the general public is stupid, okay? They are not going to know what to do. And it's evident already. People that drive these Teslas, that's all they know. I drive my Tesla and I have to plug it in. And, gas, I wouldn't know how to work those pumps. Come on. How long have we been doing this, people? I don't get it. I just don't get it. The world is getting dumber and dumber. Let me drop. And I've been saying for years that when Mother Nature gets tired of us screwing up the planet, we will be gone. And a lot of people say, well, what do you mean by that? How is that going to happen? Do you see any dinosaurs roaming around? Mother Nature got pissed at them, and they're gone. Okay? When we get all done screwing this planet up, we will be gone, and there'll be somebody else here, something else. And like I said, I've been saying that for years. And one of these decades, years, months, days, we don't know. It could happen tomorrow. Something will happen, and we'll be all wiped out. And then it doesn't matter anymore. So then it's back to nature again. And then whatever's next will continue on to screw up the planet more than we did, because technology, baby, technology is the answer. No, it's not. I think that's about all I need to say. Back to you, Neil.
Did you mention the Darwin Award?
I was going to say, how do you really feel? Oh, thanks, Mike. And I've been reading on the deaf thing myself. I'd like to think that they have a quick, solution. I mean, considering what it's made of, I'm sure, a couple thousand of us could come together and pee in buckets for a while. Yeah, I know. The world is a very volatile place right now. So, and it's important for everybody to scrutinize everything. That's all I can say. I hear a lot of things, and most of what Mike says is stuff that you can easily look up and research. But we all get very fired up about a lot of this stuff. I'll agree. First, I do have to put one disclaimer. I do not know for a fact that all of the local gas stations meet for breakfast once a week and set their pricing, but it sure does seem like it. That's what I had surmised, because the prices here are all very similar and all very high, and we usually run about 30 cents higher, I think, than we need to if you compare it to the gas prices up in Kingston and a couple other places that don't seem to be as affected. And some people say, oh, it's because you're right on the thruway. So is Kingston. It's not a demand thing. So I don't know. I just don't agree with it. Jersey has some interesting laws on gas pricing. You're only allowed to raise your price a certain number of times every certain number of days, I believe, which kind of controls the gouging a little bit down there. But that's when I really noticed it, as I was in Jersey, once or twice during the week, And even if it's watching from my bus window, when I see that gas is 35 to 40 cents less a gallon there than it is here, and everybody's like, well, they don't have the taxes we do. No, they changed that. Their taxes are really only about 10 cents less than ours at this point, and that's really about the only spread you should see. But yeah, someone's taking advantage of something. Anyway, Mike, thanks. Have some tea. Relax a little. Sorry I got you all riled up. Matt, you're up next. KB2GGF.
KC2UVP. KD2, I'm in our comment.
All right. First we have Mike with a comment, and then Mike with a comment. UVP, comment.
Mike, can I talk to you after the net? I'm going to let you guys go through. Thank you. Talk to you direct after the net.
Go ahead, Mike. You can answer and then give your comment.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds fine. Two comments. They don't have to meet at the diner to discuss prices. The gas station right out by me, you know the gas station, Neil. That guy owns that one and the one down by Purple Parlor, and I think one more. There's a guy around here. His last name is Neshawat. He owns and is building 1, 2, 3. He's building 3 gas stations right now, and he already owns 6 of them, I believe. So he'll be up to 9 gas stations. So basically, he doesn't have to meet himself at the diner in the morning. I know we're saying that, and it's probably not true. But like you said, it seems like it. But you know, it's our running joke right now. And the other comment is that all the DEF stuff, they're finding that it's not doing anything except slowing down production. Let's say it's slowing down the United States as far as the trucking industry, because again, they didn't test it long enough. They didn't come up with all the answers to everything, and most of probably 65% of the DEF systems in the trucks right now are screwing up. Parts are going bad, and it's taking forever to get parts, and like that. You know, we've had 2 of our triaxles. The nozzles go bad where it injects it into the exhaust. Sending units are going bad. You know, and they're not old trucks, obviously. You know, they've only been doing it for a few years with the triaxles and everything. I believe DEF, the oldest truck we have that takes DEF is the 2016, I believe. That one, the nozzle where it injects it into the exhaust went twice. My truck has been okay, but there's been a couple other trucks, 2017, 18. The sending units have gone bad, and if the computer doesn't know how much DEF you have in there, it goes into limp mode because it thinks there's none. So, you know, there's all these problems with these systems.
Hey, honey, are you up and about at all? Are you up and about? In the cooler that we brought back, I think I still have a big bottle of water in there. And to the YouTube people that watched me do all that, Mike's still talking, I think. Hey, Mike. You timed out about a minute ago. I'm hitting a lot of nerves tonight. I'm sorry, people. Everybody, do your relaxation exercises before you try to go to bed. Give a quick wrap up, Mike, and then I'll move on to Matt.
All right. I said how it's not great, for parts on the trucks and all that, but they're finding that it's not really doing anything for the environment. And about a minute. So the DEF, if you spill it on the floor, it forms crystals and basically looks like stalagmites coming up off the floor. And like I said, they're finding that it's doing nothing for the environment. So basically they created stuff just to screw up trucks and go into limp mode and take forever to fix because you can't get parts for them. I'm going to wrap it up here and like that. Have a good night, everybody. And I'm calm. I just can't stand all this stuff that they're making us do that aren't doing anything for us, but whatever. Back to you, Neil. KD2, MNR.
Quick comment.
Yeah, and I'll throw one in. I'm sorry if I step on yours, Jim, but not stalagmites. Kidney stones.
I have the same problem as causing gout.
There you go. Mike, Jim has some pills you can throw in the tank.
Touche.
Yeah, we'll need them.
All right. And with that, we'll put that subject to bed for now. Matt, you are up now.
Well, thank you, Neil. KB2GGF, and I also take gout pills, but I haven't noticed any improvement to my exhaust. I don't have a lot to complain about. I mean, I can because it's kind of a hobby of mine, but all in all, I'm actually somewhat hopeful for the progression of things. I think things are going to get better. Things are really pretty bad now, but it's not always going to be that way. And human beings are extremely resilient animals. And dinosaurs, yeah, I saw some this morning. We call them birds. From what they tell me, birds are the descendants and evolutionized product of dinosaurs. So they got the same DNA. Doodah. So it's, it's not all gloom and doom. Yeah, mainly it's gloom and doom, but it ain't always going to be. KB2, GGF, back to Ned.
There was a distant station in there. Hang on and crank up your power. But yeah, you just barely broke squelch. All right, Matt. Yeah. I agree with the people who want to be first and foremost on a new technology, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's definitely, as we said, everything's moving in that direction. But we need to stop mandating things that we're not ready to mandate. And that is where I agree. Innovation, yes. Improving our lives, yes. Let's make sure that we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's. Frequently, I've found that a lot of organizations will tell you that they have dotted their I's and crossed their T's, but we got a really good deal on dots. So we're going to dot our T's for a while because it's easier. Anyway, that's how I feel. Lou, KD2 TVS, great prelude for you, right? We'll make this a final round, I think, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Your comments on everything that's happened since the last time you were on.
Yeah, Neil, thanks. KD2 TVS here. Yeah, it's been a long while, but I can't laugh at anybody. I mean, I have the same feelings, I guess, a little bit like Mike does and everybody else does. that we're just as victims of this craziness that we can't do anything about. I mean, my son lives out in Nevada. He's actually about 50 miles west of Las Vegas. He has 2-acre property out there, so he has his own well water. So he's not really affected by, let's say, the water they supply to Southern California for vegetables and stuff like that. But it's becoming a little bit of a crisis out there when you look at the levels of Lake Mead there, whatever it's called. I guess which one? There's 2 lakes there that supplies the water into Hoover Dam. And I mean, I've taken the tour of Hoover Dam. It's a phenomenal, piece of engineering that they thought of so far back, and yet, who thought that they would be at this point, I remember hearing, I think we watched some YouTube videos on the Vegas area and that Pahrump area, and they've had a drought for 13 years about, so it's affecting, the water level going down, and it's eventually, if it, you would think it would remedy itself eventually, the snow coming back into northern Nevada and the other states up there, and that start flowing that water back down into that lake and supplying the water for agriculture in California and the for water supply and electricity. Let me just reset. So that I just made some notes here. Let me see who I'll alternate. Yeah, I was laughing a little bit at it's not just us. And as far as that Hoover Dam stuff, I was looking at a documentary, and it's a political documentary, but they were kind of making a spoof of alternate energy also, and the example they put up was Cesar Chavez in Venezuela, and they were talking that Chavez had, I guess, didn't want to continue using, I guess, fossil fuels for his electric energy generation in Venezuela. So he built supposedly some humongous hydroelectric plant running off some dam, but then same thing happened. They were having a lot of droughts, and that the water supply that they thought would always be there wasn't there, and they were having random blackouts and brownouts. And it was kind of funny. He was in a press conference, and I guess spewing his political things and how great everything was, and it has a blackout. You just see him sitting there like wondering what's going on. So, well, this is your own doing. Sometimes things are not always going to be there that you thought were going to be there. Maybe that's what they're thinking of with a lot of these electric vehicles and stuff, that taking that energy, electric energy is always going to be there, and it's going to be something that will replace, gas-fired turbines, I guess, for electric generation and all the other stuff. But maybe it's not just going to be there, like you say, Neil. We're not ready. Let me just reset. And in our local area here, Indian Point, I guess, I'm on Rockland Electric 2 here in this part of northern Jersey. It kind of runs into New York, Rockland. And I think it's parts of Pike County or something like that, of Pennsylvania. So, I know that they're eventually looking at shutting down Indian Point, and when it's going to happen, who knows? And they've caused some problems there, I guess, environmentally, I guess, with the spent nuclear fuel and something with the cooling towers. I remember seeing something about it. I don't know exactly what method of craziness is going on over there. So eventually there may be a problem over here. And I've been to Niagara Falls. Years ago, and I know I guess they do produce electricity off Niagara Falls, but I've never remember when I was there. It was kind of a quick trip, never remember there being a tour or anything, just like Hoover Dam is, where you can see the generators and how it's all done and how it's all powered and stuff. I mean, I don't think Niagara Falls is going to go anywhere anytime soon, but you never know. I mean, I imagine they didn't think about it back in the Hoover Dam days, that when they built it, that was going to happen. But let me just reset again. And I had texted a buddy of mine that works a lot of vehicles out in, he's in PA, and I know he's gone to I know he went to an electrical course on electric vehicles and stuff out somewhere. I forget where it was. And so he tells me that, they have the technology of making alternate types of batteries other than lithium that are more green. Looks like a text came up. Maybe it's him answering my question. And the question to him was basically about what Mike was talking about, that DEF fluid. Let me see. Yeah, basically what Mike said about contains the urea that they put into the exhaust. And the reason I was asking him, because I remember a buddy of mine that I was working with, he was calling on all that craziness with Volkswagens and their diesels and tinkering with their emission software and all that craziness. He eventually had to get rid of that because they forced him to give it up and gave him the deal on. He bought a gasoline-powered Volkswagen after that. And I remember always him talking about that little fluid that they were, I guess it's the same thing on the regular passenger vehicle emission systems with that DEF, I guess, for the emissions. And didn't know about all that that Mike was talking about. It's interesting to hear that. They always think it's going to be better, but sometimes it turns out to be a bigger mess than what it actually was intended to do. Let me just reset, and I have one more question for you, Neil. Maybe clear it up before we all sign off. And reset. And getting off the electric topic for a little bit. Maybe we can do a little bit of that anger management with Jack Nicholson and the movie with Adam Sandler about the something fuba or whatever they used to say to calm down. The GD77. Let's see, I made a note here what I wanted to add. I have downloaded the GD77 manual, the one with the new firmware, and I've gone to a couple of YouTube channels, and as far as Mike brought up the topic, and you did also about the different ways of programming these things. And mine is programmed to a point, but I'd like to know a little bit more in depth. I know it makes it easier with that software, but is there a YouTube channel individual that you know of that gets a little bit more in depth on programming? Because I've seen one, but I think the guy was out of England somewhere, and I think good explanation, but there was like something missing. And or did you know a link on the internet that kind of gives you some programming hints or pointers with the firmware software? That's pretty much my view for tonight. I'll be listening on the side, but I know it's pretty much 73 rounds. So, all you guys, stay safe on this holiday weekend, and remember, we're remembering the heroes that we have, and as far as the military and I guess law enforcement also, they fall into it, and remembering them, those that have lost their lives, and our heroes, as we can say. So have a great week, and I will be sitting here on the side, but 7
Great, Lou. Thanks. And I mean, are you DMR programming in general? Like whether it was a radiality with or without the firmware, TYT, any tone. I mean, how to organize like zones and channels and everything.
Yeah, I have the software that they specifically specify for the new with the firmware. It's just as there was a simpler way of doing it instead of. I mean, I've done it and I have some channels programmed in there. But when I try to switch channels or add a channel, sometimes it works, and I'm not knowing for sure because I use it off a hotspot. And per se, when somebody's on the hotspot talking on a different channel, then I guess it doesn't let you swap rooms or whatever you want to call it to a different one while they're talking and you're being part of the conversation, I guess. So, a better way of maybe understanding it instead of going through this. I mean, I'm lazy about reading manuals, and you would probably say, yeah, this is the guy that worked on airplanes. He's lazy about reading manuals, but sometimes, they're looking for a specific thing, but now you're looking through a whole manual to find something. So on an airplane, I knew where to go look. But back to you, Neil, KD2 TVS.
It's hard to point in a specific direction. I mean, but just hunting around, you'll find the answers. The issue is that there's different schools of thought with how to organize it, and we can get into this on another time. But I'll just briefly mention what I mean by that is that you have zones, and zones are good for organizing groups of channels. And some people will do a zone for a particular repeater. Let's say if you're in an area where there are DMR repeaters. So like when I lived on Long Island, there were a number of them. I had a zone for different repeaters. And then I had a zone for my hotspot with all the talk groups that I wanted on each one. Some people will do a zone in inverse of that, which is they'll do a zone where every channel in that zone is the same talk group, but each one through a different point. Like one for your home hotspot, one for your mobile hotspot, one for a repeater, one for a repeater somewhere else, but all the same talk group. Some people will do zones based on areas that they travel. So and you can do zones based on subjects. And the thing is that some of these radios have enough memories and enough possible zones that you can do a combination of all these things. It really hurts the brain. And you kind of have to find a happy medium where you're happy. As far as, with the repeater, when your hotspot gets tied up with a particular channel, it's one of the good things about Brandmeister is you can go to the Brandmeister self-care page and drop all dynamic talk groups. So, and what that is, if you key up on a talk group that you don't have defaulted, it'll become active. And as long as it's active without a drop for more than, I think it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it'll remain active on your hotspot. So anybody who's talking on it's going to, tie up your hotspot. But you can go to that web page in Brandmeister and say drop, and drop all of those groups. If you have a duplex, a full duplex hotspot, there's actually a like a default talk group you can key up on that'll drop all of your dynamic talk groups that have fallen in. So that's another way to do it. There's also, you'd have to Google how to do this, but it's not too hard. There's some custom code that you can put into Pi-Star that'll give you a little interface in the Pi-Star interface in the Brandmeister section, right on your dashboard there, I think in the admin page. But that lets you drop the dynamic talk groups right from your Pi-Star page. So there's a lot of stuff. I can't think of one particular tutorial that's going to give you everything. I'd have to really dig into that, but I can think about it. So anyway, I hope some of that helped, and I'm going to hang out for a minute or two when we get through everybody, but I'm going to get to Jerry because it's a long net tonight. WA2RKN, Jerry. So I'm still going for the Jello mold idea. I think a huge column of Jello is the way to go.
Or maybe a fish tank. Knock out a piece of basement wall and put a piece of plexiglass in. I don't know. here. Lou, you made the comment about the Teslas with the 22-inch wheels having a lower towing capacity. I think the standard wheel size is like 19 or 20 inches. So it makes sense. With a 22-inch wheel, you've got a longer radius arm, so you're going to be delivering less torque to the pavement. So, yeah, you would expect a lower towing capacity. Mike, there is already a standard for the charging stuff. Tesla was the first one to build the charging networks out in this country and around the world. Them being first and putting a lot of them in place, they are a standard, a de facto standard. Whether that changes in the future, whether they'll allow their particular design to be used by the other manufacturers or not, I don't know. But there is a standard already. And like I said, the portable charger that comes with every car has got a pigtail section that you can change out the connector so that you could, use somebody else's standard. I think there's a different standard in Europe for charging. Let's see, what else? Jim, you're talking about the fossil fuels and the load that the electric car is going to place on the electric generating stations and the distribution system. Large electric generators, central power generators, are much more efficient in converting fossil fuel to energy than a small engine in an individual car. So I think the figure is about 20% of the energy in the gasoline reaches the wheels. Conversion efficiency is much better in the larger power systems. I agree. We're not ready with the distribution systems. I mean, there's been talk of the smart grids and upgrading and all this kind of stuff, but it's only been talk. The politicians don't want to spend the money because I think the fossil fuel companies don't want to be shut down. They want that money to keep rolling in, regardless of what happens to the planet. I think we've got to change. I'm going to be long dead by the time it really hits. But look around. We've got
a lot of this tonight. You can't really hear him on the reverse either. Oh well. I should start a stopwatch when this happens, so I know how long to tell them that they've lost. For those of you watching, YouTube doesn't time out. And we're still going. Oh. Well, I'll take a drink of water. And we're back. Oh, Jerry, you timed out probably about 35, 45 seconds ago.
So where did I lose it?
We were still on, power distribution efficiency.
Corporations are not persona, and money is not free speech.
Yeah, power generation is much more efficient at the large power stations than at converting fossil fuels in the car to energy. I think about 20% of the energy in the gasoline actually reaches the real wheels. So more efficient with the big generator plants. And yeah, we need to upgrade the grid and all the rest. We got to move fast. we're seeing more and more intense storms every season, and out of control wildfires are increasing, all due to climate change. We've got to move faster than we are moving. We've got to get away from fossil fuels faster than we are. I get about 5 miles of range for every hour of charge on a 120 volt outlet. And with that, WA2RKN, back to that.
Thanks, Jerry. And yeah, I mean, once again, I agree. They're all steps and thoughts and technology in the right direction. But you're right. You know, it's like everybody knows that we need to walk this way, but no one wants to pave the sidewalk. I don't get it. So, and the fish tank idea. As a teenager, my parents took us to Bermuda a number of times, and the Sonesta Hotel, which used to be next door to the hotel we stayed in when we used to go, which a hurricane, I believe, erased. It's no longer there. But they had a bar called the Obso Lounge. Obso for observation, I assume. And what it was an underwater bar that you could get to through a tunnel. And it had one entire glass wall. So, yeah, there you go. If you're going to do it, put a bar in down there. All right. Jerry, thanks. And I thank you again for answering questions and for your input. You know, this is, it's definitely a heated topic. And once again, I've already expressed my feelings on the subject. So, all right. Joe, KD2CCT, I'm not sure if you're still with us or not. Is it still nice outside?
This is Joe, KD2CCT, and I'm still here. Just checking to see if you can hear me.
Yes, we can, and no brass band.
Yeah, they've quieted down. They're doing some sort of, sounds like some light movie soundtrack. I don't know. But yeah, I agree with pretty much everything I heard here tonight. Good discussion, a lot of interesting things there. I do agree that we have to move in a different direction. Unfortunately, politics and competition with getting all the money could be a problem for many. And it's usually us, the ones that are on the low end. The electric cars might be good for the environment coming up, but I think the consumer is still going to be paying through the nose no matter what, because it's always all about the money when he drops it. And I don't know, I think that's just about it, but it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. I'm getting older, but not too old, so I think maybe I might see quite a bit of change in maybe the next 10, 15 years. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, I'm all for saving the planet and doing what we can and trying to take care of each other and adding a little more humanity to the world. And before I check out here, I'll just drop out one more time. And I would like to thank all of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for fighting and whatever other endeavor they may have been doing while serving in the military or the merchant marine or the Coast Guard. So here's to you, and thank you, everyone. It's been a good night. This is KD2 CCT 73. Bye.
Thanks for all that, Joe. And yes, I agree with the sentiment. And we all have to be reminded sometimes that this isn't just the weekend that we go to Stormville and barbecue. So thank you for that. All right. We've come to the end here. I did just get a text here. KC2UVP. Mike's HT battery died, and he said that the wife is asleep and he doesn't want to turn on the radio in the house, so he will catch you tomorrow. You should be on early. So, all right. Is there anybody else who wants to check in at the end of the night here? Please come now.
Here's received. KC2 UVP. 73 clear.
KD2 KJU. Chad Westerly.
All right, thanks. And good evening, Jed. You're right at the end of the second round. I think we're actually going to end the net at the end of the second round here. So please come. And I don't know how much you've heard, but welcome to comment on anything that we've been talking about. And if not, you can ask me and I can give you a quick synopsis. And then after you, I'll throw it back to Jim for a wrap up, and I think we'll end things there. So, Jed, please come in.
All right, thanks, Neil. So I've been listening for since the beginning of the net. I have a couple of friends over, and we've been having barbecue in the back there. And I happen to, I leave the handheld on with the net, dual screen emergency frequency and the 805 on. And I just kind of put it outside, and most people don't pay attention to it. And I kind of turned it down, and they heard Mike talking about the diesel and everything like that. And I come back outside, and they're all huddled around the radio. They're too scared to touch it because I've warned them very frequently about touching any radio or anything like that. But they're huddled around it and cheering on Mike and really enjoying the conversation. And it's just interesting because they all, have diesel trucks and everything like that. And we're very, for the first time, there were a bunch of people that really enjoyed, actually hearing my radio. Usually they tell me to turn it down and, what is that thing or something like that. But today they were actually enjoying it, which is rare. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that, and they actually sat through and have been, and actually they're still outside listening to it right now. So they are definitely enjoying it right now, and just wanted to share that with the net. This is KD2KJU, and I will send it back to you, Neil. Over to W2NDG.
AC2UVP.
All right. I assume that's a comment, Mike.
Hello, all you radio listeners. Get a handle. Take the test. You can be talking around the world before you know it. Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome, Mike. And yes, greetings to all of our listeners. And, you're welcome to watch on YouTube on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Nothing fancy, just me sitting at a desk here with my mic. So, but this club has grown immensely in the last couple of years, and we love it. And it's a lot of fun and a lot of good minds here, and a lot of people who may not always have the same opinions, but we all get along. Makes for very interesting conversations. So, thanks, Jed, and thank you to your listeners. And Jim, K2BHM, you get the last word, of course, before I do.
Okay. I don't think that, but thanks anyway. Jim, K2BHM here. Well, Mike, you're probably asleep by now because we're past your bedtime, but the urea for the catalytic converters on the trucks, that's kind of, let me draw you the corollary on the cars. Catalytic converters used to be a lifetime part for the cars. And when they decided that they would put 10% ethanol in the gasoline, it did two things. Number one, the ethanol lowered the power available for the gas, so your gas mileage went down. And the cost of producing ethanol was diesel fuel and all fossil fuels for the farmers who make that. But it had another undocumented and disavowed effect. The catalytic converter used to be a lifetime part for the car. And now it lasts, well, depending on the manufacturer, 60, 70, 80,000 miles, 100,000 miles. I was lucky with the Subaru. It conked out at 78,000 miles. And the warranty on the emissions is 80,000. So it was covered. But I found out that it's covered by the feds. So the $2,000 bill for replacing the catalytic converter was thanks to you. And then when the next one failed, another 40 grand later, it was on me. And by that time, the frame rotted out and was ready for the exhaust system and so forth. So it was time to jump the car at 120,000 miles. Thanks a lot. Anyhow, it's not a pretty world out there anymore. Anyhow, that's pretty much all that I remember from the comments that were significant enough to repeat. So back to you, Neil, K2BHM.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. And it was a good net tonight. It sometimes happens, even when I don't have a topic. Anyway, thanks for being here, and thanks to everybody else who participated. And I think we'll close things up. What do you think, Alexa? Should I close things up?
Do you,
She's not listening.
Neil, one last comment.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
Well, I do a lot more listening than talking, but here's a wormhole for everybody. Can you jump start a car with just one cable? And I should have brought that up last night, but anyways, that's just something for you to think about because I know you never stop thinking. KC2, UVP 73 on your final.
Oh, last minute check-in from Bob, and maybe an answer to the puzzler here.
Oh yeah, it's easy to do a one cable. You just got to touch bumpers when you had metal bumpers, but you can't do that anymore. So that's only with older cars. You can't do that now. But I just want to jump in and say hi. I just got home, so just picking up the last piece of the net, and just want to say hello, and then you can close it out. K2LD.
Does that make me an older car?
Bob, you read my mind.
And I'm going to add to that. If you hit somebody hard enough before you hook up the one cable, it still works.
Yes, but the black box remembers that.
Yeah, and then you have an airbag to fix. All right. Let's close things up. Bob, thanks for coming at the last minute there. W2NDG from Highland. And you have been listening to the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club Sunday Night Science and Technology Net. We meet here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Myself, W2NDG, and Jim, K2BHM. Please join us again next week. And please join us for the other nets that occur on this frequency. There are 2 daily nets, 8:35 a.m. We have the 8:35 of the 8:05, which is a roundtable net, not a directed net, hosted by a rotating cast of OMARC members. Please join us, 8:35 in the morning. 6:30 p.m., a similar social net, a 6:30 check-in net, also hosted by a rotating cast of net controls, but that is a directed net, not a roundtable. Every Monday night, we have Undernet, Ulster and Northern Duchess Readiness Net, a group of hams discussing how to be ready and prepared in the case of an emergency and practicing good radio practices for emergencies. On Thursday nights, Dave, K2JLV, hosts the Thursday Night Tech Net, which is a net similar to this one, but usually more ham radio-oriented topics. Please check in Thursday nights at 8. Dave usually runs 4 or 5, sometimes more, rounds into the night discussing a technical topic or helping somebody troubleshoot something or answer an unanswered question. And off of this repeater, we have on Wednesdays now the Wednesday Hudson Valley 80 meter net on 3835 kilohertz, 3835. Join us at 5 p.m. on Wednesdays. We get check-ins from all over the Northeast on 80 meters. Let's close it up. We now end the Overlook Mountain Emerge Radio Club's Sunday Night Science and Technology Net. Please join us again. I will now return this repeater to regular use. As usual, I'll hang out for a few minutes if anybody has any other questions or things they want to chat about. Everybody have a good evening. 7-3, ending the YouTube stream now. Have a good night.
Still there, Bob?